Hey there, Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. In this video, we're going to pick up in the Ruger Precision Rifle series where we left off with our 243 Winchester rifle. Now, my initial groups at 100 yards were awesome. I was just doing a sight-in, and my first 5-shot groups in about half an hour shooting measured about 3/8 of an inch, so I was really happy with that. Now it's time to build on that success, hone in on the load data, see how good we can do. I'm also going to do a couple other things. I've got the inline fabrication mount for the Hornady Lock-N-Load Iron that I've shown in previous videos. I just added this powder measure arm, which is really cool. Speaking of powder, we're going to use some IMR 4451. This is part of the Enduron series, which features a copper defouling agent. It's a very temperature insensitive blends for the Enduron series, and it's also made in an environmentally responsible manner. So it'll be fun to try some new powder. We're also going to continue where we left off with the L.E. Wilson full-length bushing type sizing die. Now, since I got my ball micrometer, this RCBS ball micrometer, I noticed that my previous digital caliper measurements were slightly off. And that meant the case wall thickness was about 1/1000th of an inch less, which means I had to go down a couple thousandths on my bushing. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to use bushing type sizing dies, try and calculate what you think will be the optimal bushing size, but then get multiple bushings, at least one on either side by 1 or 2/1000th of an inch increments, so that you can make adjustments. If you have some brass with varying thickness, you can account for that and not need to wait like I did. So we're going to do the Hornady Lock-N-Load Iron. We're going to do the IMR 4451. And because I'm going to be testing a magneto speed V3 chronograph coming up here very shortly, I thought I would dump the charges very slightly under. We're talking about like 0.3 grains below, and then trickle them up to the exact charge weight on a digital scale. That way, when we do our standard deviation and our extreme spread, we're going to know that powder variations weren't a part of the equation there. And because we're using a bushing type sizing die, we know we're also optimizing for the press fit of the bullet into the case mouth, that interference fit, that about 2/1000ths of an inch interference fit that you want. So this is going to be great. Let's walk through the process of loading some precision ammo with this setup. So I want to give you a high-level overview of what this process is going to look like. I've got my once-fired cases here. I already showed in the last video on this series how we set up the bushing type sizing die, so if you're curious about that, you should check that out. I've lubed the outside. One nice thing about using this kind of a full-length bushing type sizing die, there's no expander ball on the inside. Don't need to lube the inside of the case necks, which means if you're going to follow up and charge without wiping them down, you're not going to have the bridging of the powder and it's sticking, which I think is really a great plus. So we're gonna size, deprime, reprime in the first phase, set that aside. Then we're going to do our charges, trickle up to the weight. Then we're going to do bullet seating. So let's get started with the sizing. So one of the things I like about this press is it's just a very gentle touch. The mechanical advantage for sizing is great. The priming works awesome. It's got really good feel, and it seems to prime without jamming. One minor note about the operation of this press is it helps, as you're guiding the brass up, to put a very slight forward pressure on the case at the rim so that the neck is perfectly concentric when it goes up into the die. So I'm loading 20 here, and if I like the performance, I like the group size, I like the velocity, we'll load more at this spec, and if I don't like it, we'll adjust. All right, done with my 20. So here's the setup that we're going to use to charge cases. I've got my IMR 4451 loaded in the lock-and-load powder measure. We're set slightly under our target charge weight of 42.6 grains. I've also got the 4451 in the trickler. We're using a nice low profile scale, the Hornady GS350, that's going to sit nicely under the trickler, and we've got our tray zeroed out. So each time we're going to take the tray, we're going to dump a charge. This should be slightly under 42.6. 42.2, that's perfect. We'll trickle it up. There we go, we're at 42.6. And then we're going to do our pour, kind of going slow here so we don't bridge the powder in the case neck. And then we repeat. And next comes seating. So we're going to take the L.E. Wilson bushing type full-length sizing die off. Here I'm using a 243 Hornady seating die, which I like because it's got the sliding collar design. So let's go ahead and seat these cases. So for this load, I'm using Hornady Varmint 6mm 87 grain boat tail hollow point bullets. Now these are very similar to the bullets that I was using, where I got my 3/8 of an inch group. So I'm gonna, continue with that basic specification in a more precision loaded manner for this set of loads, and then experiment with different bullet weights, different bullet profiles, that kind of thing, as I continue to hone in the perfect formula. Pretty simple arrangement here. I'm just grabbing a case each time and a bullet, performing the seating, and then moving that completed cartridge to the other side of the loading block. That way I can keep track of what's going on where. Effortless is a good way to describe this bullet seating feel. Precise is another good word. It's a good feeling. Can't wait to try these out with the chronograph. So just kind of as a spot check, let's do a quick concentricity measurement to see how this is doing. Okay, so we're at plus or minus just over 0.5 of an inch, which is great, and it's fairly typical for the Hornady sliding collar bullet seating die. So I'm happy with that. Well, I feel good about the precision rounds that we just loaded. It was really smooth using this great setup. The real test, though, is going to be when we take the rifle out on the range and see how this ammo is going to do. We'll do that in a future video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't want to miss any of the action on ultimatereloader.com, please subscribe. Until then, happy shooting and happy reloading.